Time for another drawing live stream. I will come up with a decent introduction. I'm not going to do the whole, hey, what's up, YouTube? What's up, Twitch? What's up, Picardo? I'm simulcasting to all those places, actually. So what am I doing? Well, I'm still at a point where I'm the for pay comics that I'm doing right now. Stuff I can't share. I'm not at liberty to share the work in progress. So I'm going to do another little watercolor drawing for an hour. But Jerzy, that's not very productive. You're not getting as much comics done today. Well, no. But is that the only way we measure ourselves as artists? I also like to make art that sustains me and propels me and gives me some kind of juice and energy. And also, this is, this is working out. This is training. So I'm going to do another, like what I did on Monday, another drawing, and I'm going to try to keep it simple. I actually pulled up reference images on my second screen for this. What tools am I using? Here's what I plan on using today. Got a couple of brush pens, Pentel color brushes. These, what are they? It's a, gosh, why am I blanking on the words today? I am still not awake. It's a synthetic brush. That's the word I was looking for. Synthetic. It's a synthetic brush with a chamber full of ink, so I could recharge the brush instead of dipping it in an ink well. So it travels well. I take these with me everywhere. A couple of water brushes, and that's the same idea, but it's just full of water. And actually, this fella's looking like it's a little bit low on water. Might need to do a quick transfusion between these two. This is exciting. You came here to watch drawing, I thought. All right. So, here, so you see what I'm doing. I'm just going to transfer a little bit of water from one to the other. Oh, too much. I could have just as easily... Oh, my goodness. Come on. I could have just as easily switched them. So, let's just do that. Boom. Okay, so put the tips back on these. And then my trusty old Pentel twist erase pencil, which they don't make anymore, and I love these to death. And so I bought dozens of them when they came out, or rather when they were announcing that they were. They didn't announce that they were getting rid of them, but I discovered one day when I was trying to replace one that they weren't manufactured anymore. So I found a. I'm trying to say it wasn't an eBay listing. Maybe it was. Yeah, it was. It was an eBay listing for a pack of 20 of these pencils, and I grabbed them all, figuring that 20 will last me the rest of my life. I'm going to put this clip out a little bit further. We got an idea this morning as I was getting ready for my day. I thought, well, if I'm going to live stream and if I'm going to be doing another watercolor, it might be a good idea to pre-visit a little bit. So while I was getting ready, I was trying to imagine what I was going to draw, trying to picture it in my head a little bit. I'm going to do another one of my little Baron von Bear drawings. Nothing like hunting for tools. Yeah. Good to see you, Sean. Baron's arm would have to be up a little higher for the way his staff works. I've changed his staff in recent designs as I continue to play with this character. Originally, it was a long staff with 4 circles at the top. And I thought, well, a little mathematical. He's this is a wizard kind of character. The one of the various pitches I've used to describe this project is it's Doctor Strange meets Hello Kitty. A cult hero, but super cute. And thought, well, it'll look more mysterious and magical if we introduce a little bit of asymmetry to it. There's our teaching word of the day, asymmetry. I've been using that word a lot in my classes lately. So I had this image in my head of the Baron looking out over some wilderness and a mountain range. And in the foreground would be some of his tomes of knowledge, like in a shoulder pack. Well, hello. Is it Laughters? Trying to see. For some reason it's showing up in black on my chat, so it's like kind of hard to read. Thank you for saying the nice things about my art. So what I'm imagining down here, little riverbed kind of dealy. I might be making things hard for myself, but we'll see. Imagining some terrain that's like punctuated by like these rocks pointing up out of the ground, like what I did here. That was part of the image that I was conjuring this morning. And then little wisps, and then a mountain range. Now I'm looking at my reference images. I looked up some pictures of the Alps. Give me a sense of how to start building some shape into this instead of making it up wholesale. And I'm not going to lie, part of it is I wanted to figure out color too. I wasn't sure what colors I wanted to use. So this is another thing I've been talking about with my students lately is this role of reference images, because this thing that, and I'm super busted on this. When I was in 8th grade, I remember thinking, like, if you couldn't draw it from your mind, it's cheating. A real master can just draw anything that could just like they conjure the image in their head and it just comes out fully formed, like Athena from Zeus's head, right? Is it Athena? Who's Athena? I have to tell them, no, it's actually a much messier thing than that. And that's part of the fun of it, is like discovering the drawing as you go, but then also relying on reference imagery so that you don't have to hold it all in your head. To quote Henry Jones Sr., I wrote it down so I wouldn't have to remember it. Now, let's see if I can remember which wisp is which. I think I have a copy of my book. So this is a mini comic. It's not currently for sale, but this is the first mini comic I made about this character, Baron von Baron, the Case of the Cursed Cuckoo. And let's see, orange goes in the bottom. This is with the original staff design. Green was up top, then blue, then violet, then orange. Okay, so green is on up top. I want to have one of the wisps kind of floating around him. And I thought it should be green this time because I almost always choose violet. Because her trail is like very angular and very fun to draw. So I think I got the pencils done. How long have I been going? 9 minutes? 9 minutes and I got the pencils done? That's incredible. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to break out the pens. How's my day going, Laughters? It's going so far so good. I mean, it just started. This drawing will determine how well my day is going. No, it's not that big a deal. This is like a little like sketch, a warm up, a practice. This is something I don't get to do enough in my life, is like have time to sit down and practice. Like Matthew Armstrong is an artist on Instagram who if you love really cool fantasy art, I highly recommend you follow him. and he posts. I think it's a sketchbook Sunday is when he does it, and he just posts like this big image dump of all the stuff that's in his sketchbook. I'm like, man, that man knows how to practice. Oh, thanks, Sean. This is something, I mean, speaking of practice, I mean, that was the thing I noticed this morning is that, like, I remembered Monday's stream when I was drawing that tortoise Taft. I don't know what happened to that drawing. I don't know what I did with my drawing. Oh, that's funny. I'm such a slob when it comes to this stuff. I'm going to find it on the floor face down. I remember I had like a lot of false starts with that drawing. And I think it was because I didn't sit down and just hold the image in my mind for a few minutes. And I think this is one of those things where it's like, intuition comes with practice, right? Like in the example I always use with my students, and I know I've said it on the stream a bunch of times, is like when you get on a bike, you don't say, where do my feet go? You just know. It's like feels absolutely natural. Like it's like breathing. You just like start moving. Not why? Because you intuit it because you've practiced it so many darn times. The first time you did it, you had to go, where do my feet go? And I think when we do this enough, we start to rely on our intuition more and at our own peril, because I had this image vaguely in my head at one point or another, but I didn't like hold it and really consider it. And when I stopped and did that this morning, I think I landed on something that was like pretty decent. I'm not saying we should question everything that we do, because there does come a time where intuition is necessary. But I think I was using intuition when I was starting to sketch this thing after a little bit of pre-visualization. And like I said, I wasn't relying entirely on my imagination because I have a reference image of the Alps across the way. I'm going to turn this on its side a little bit, and I might switch to a different brush for this part. We got going in here. Okay. Is anybody watching right now working on comics or drawings of their own? Something I have taken as a habit when I'm talking with my friends, and even when I do like a little bit of mentoring beyond teaching. I mentor a couple of young artists, and something I do at the top of our meetings together is I'll say like, okay, what are you excited about that you're working on right now? And what are you kind of like, ugh, about what you're working on right now? And that's not to create a prompt for me to offer them any particular advice, but more just like to check in with how we feel about what we're making. So I'll extend that to anybody watching right now. What are you excited about that you're working on right now? What are you kind of like, ugh? What's a drag that you're working on right now? The Mad Cat art is work on your own book, and lettering another for a friend. That's awesome. Now let's get that bear inked. Coloring is a drag. It can be, yeah. It can certainly be one of the more tedious parts, and it's a part that I certainly feel very intimidated by. Like when I see really great coloring, like thoughtful color theory happening in a book, I'm like, oh, what's happening in their brain that's not happening in my brain? Oh, Sean, you watched the Knowing is Half the Battle video that I did? What do these cartoons really teach us? And I've seen it and have that as almost a post-it notes for what I'm implicating on my character development for my comics. Oh, that is super cool. I am so grateful to hear that. You know, I remember when I pitched the talk, what Sean's referring to is I did a 20-minute Nerd Night talk. And the whole premise of Nerd Night is like, tell us about a thing that you are super stoked about, super nerdy about, the kind of thing that, you know, they never described it this way, but I interpret it as like, what is it that makes you insufferable at parties? Like, what is the thing that if somebody makes the mistake of asking you about it, you go, and then back up. And that's one of them for me, is that after a lifetime of loving these cartoons, growing up with them, and really deriving a lot of value out of them, and facing that whole conversation over and over again of, well, you know, they don't hold up. Well, no. What are you holding them up to? You know? Does Voltron hold up to other things? I mean, I'm talking about the original Voltron. Heck no. But there's value in what they were doing because they were actually trying. So it was partially, and maybe this is where some kind of good art can come from, is it was partially me like really being a little bit annoyed at how smug people could get about an entire genre of media, because I think buried in there, in that implication that it's just people are hacking it out, it wasn't very well thought through. It's like, well, you're basically saying that children don't deserve good media, or that people intentionally made bad media for children. I don't think that's the case. I've met a lot of these writers of these shows, and you hear them talk about it, and it's like they were doing their level best, and there were a zillion constraints and a zillion other kind of like like you take like these Sunbow cartoons, and it's like, okay, we have to advertise a fleet of new toys every season. There's 12 cooks in the kitchen. You're getting notes from the toy company and the studio. And how do you make this stuff consistent amongst all the other writers and what they're all doing at the same time? And we got to rush this stuff through fast. We got to get 50-something odd episodes done for this year. You know, you get that many constraints, there's going to be some weirdness that happens in there. But that weirdness can also be a source of like creative whimsy to celebrate. So yeah, anyway, you can tell I got big feelings about this. But yes, what Sean was pointing to, and thank you, Madcat, I didn't know you watched that too, is in the video I talk about how like these cartoons, if you really analyze them, you've got, you know, clear characterization. You don't have time to do a lot of, you know, subtle Wes Anderson twee sort of like, you know, implying of character. Like you have to get to it fast, and you got to make it absolutely clear. But my favorite would have to be is the fact that like the limitation of it, the limitation of having to like make a story out of, and the example I think I used was Sky Commanders, which I love. Was like, yeah, it's like, what's the toy premise? They run on zip lines. How do you make something interesting out of that? I think I got the bottom, loop. The bottom little crook in his staff is pointing the wrong way. Well, nothing for it. That's okay. This is just a sketch. All right, so let's do one more pass at like a little bit of a bolder outline around some of this foreground material. And I'm going to get to painting it. And 20 minutes, making good time. Now comes the part that I'm afraid of. But if we're not a little bit afraid, then we're not trying very hard, are we? Where the goodness did my eraser go? More hunting for tools. Okay, eraser time. Gently. This is my favorite kind of eraser, by the way, the Pentel polymer. Oh, I can see some places where I didn't finish drawing some stuff. That's okay. So I'm going to go in here with my color pen and just scribble in his little wisp friends. So where's my purple? Violet, you are down here. And blue. And orange. Where's my orange? All right, where do I want to begin? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin with the mountains, just because I'm the most afraid of them. The blast to remember when you don't have that urge to get to draw. So now we get to create our own toys and set them on adventures. It's a blast to remember when you don't have that urge to get to draw. Oh, yeah. Something I tell my students, so I do this exercise in my class where, and I can do this on a little piece of paper. This is my pad of paper that a friend made for me some years ago. I love Rodimus, okay? And I do this in the class. I say, what? No, eggs. And I write the line of dialogue 3 times. And I have the room read this as a group. And I say, how does this sound based on what we see? And we go, what? No eggs? What? No eggs? What? No eggs? And I say, now, watch what happens if I change the shape of the line. And then I do this, which we cartoonists know, like, well, of course. But as I'm doing this, you can hear the kids in the room going like, oh. And then I have them read them as a group again, right? And they read them with all the different voices that we see. And then I say to them, so in other words, I change the shape and the line, and you hear different voices in your heads. You know, if that's not magic, I don't know what is. Like if you go into a stranger in the streets and I'm going to change a shape and a line, you're going to hear a voice in your head. They'd be like, get out of here. What are you talking about? Right. And that's the power that we're playing with. And like, so like when people say like, well, what do you do when you're not feeling motivated? I'm like, I think about like how much power we're wielding when we actually sit down and do this thoughtfully. It's an incredible responsibility and incredibly, I don't know, inspiring. Not to get too woo about it. Okay. Get some light blue in here. I'm looking at my reference image here. So this side, I have a little bit of if I pull this off and make this actually look good, then today will be a good day. Or this could be one of those moments where we all say, I tried. All right. colors am I seeing in there? I think we're going to go to some very pale red. I haven't tried to do this since I took that watercolor class like 2 years ago. I tried to like work off of a reference image like this. What else am I seeing in there? A little bit of orange in there too. Not what I wanted. When it's wet, there's takebacks. What color is that? This is the part of the coloring that's so hard for me. As I'm looking at an image and I'm trying to like piece it together. Like, what color do I see there? I'm squinting my eyes. Guys, that looks like indigo and light blue. I'll mix some indigo. Let you see what I'm doing here. Let me back away. This is a little bit better television. All right, deep breath. See if I can do this. Need another place to work here in my palette. Clean up some of this area over here. What was I doing? I don't remember where I was going with this. Oh, yeah. All right, so now let's see if I can do some little tidier stuff in here a little bit. Okay, I'm going to leave these mountains be because I'm really afraid of overworking them. And I'll come back to them in a minute after I do some more of the other areas on this. Get some more yellow in there. It's yellowish green. Darken it up just a touch. Yeah, that's what I need. I think I want this area to be the warmer green. As soon as I saw the warm green here, I was like, nope, 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 nope. That won't do. I'm talking like I know what I'm doing. Nope, nope, nope. More of that yellow green in there. Hello, I need you. I need you. Okay, there we go. That's more like it. Let's get some. So I don't know how well this maps onto like proper painting technique, but what I'm thinking about as I'm doing this right now is, you know how in old comics like 30 years ago, if you wanted something to really be pushed into the foreground, they would like just color the whole darn thing purple. You know, it could be like a person with a suitcase and a pistol who's like coming into the frame about to like attack somebody in the midground, and they would just put a wash of purple over top of everything: suit, briefcase, gun, and all, skin tone, hair color, everything. And I love that sort of like abstract, almost poetic, graphical way of representing reality. And this is something else that I've been really kind of like excited about lately, is this idea of, is that like in comics, because we've rendered the world into lines, at least in this case, not always, but in this case, nothing on the page is real, which means everything is equally unreal, and that lines don't have to represent objects alone, they can represent how things feel. And so we have a little bit of abstraction we get to play with. I talk about my students like how lines are visual poetry, and I really, the more and more I think about it, the more I want to play with that idea. Leave that be for a bit, let that dry. What color are magical knowledge tomes? Well, they're warm colors, right? Maybe some purple. Let's see if I can get a gold here. Or yellow in that. Now, what color are these rocks going to be? That's a question. Based on what I got going on so far. How about I continue on with like repeating some of this stuff going on with the pinkish colors. Whole bunch of this really bright green. All right. Guess it's okay to color in the Baron now. A little bit of brown, a little bit of purple. Put a little tiny bit of that pink light on them too. Starting to take shape? Maybe. Whoop. A rare instance of the artist losing his tools. All right, so let's do the grass in the distance, which I want to be a little bit more yellowy. But then, grab a little bit of that, put it over here. A little bit of purple to it. Clear blue lake. Let's see, where can I get some? I am running all out of space in all my palettes. And I'm running out of water in my brush. Oh, the tensions. The tension. This is, are you not entertained? Right? There we go. Let's clean this off. Quick little. Another lesson learned. Maybe next time I should have a bottle of water nearby. Oh, well, Mad Cat, that's kind of you to say. I mean, I'm glad this is looking like fun. It is fun, actually. I mean, I was so afraid of doing watercolors, and I know I've told this story a bunch of times. When I first started, and it was my wife Anne who convinced me. She's like, you know, I think you'd really enjoy it if you gave it a shot, because like I had invested so much into my identity as a cartoonist that I'm a cartoonist, I'm not a real artist, you know. And man, was I afraid when I first tried it. Uh, but and again, it's like I also think of that thing that Ben Hatke said to me at A2CAF, which like just chilled me to the bone when he's like, part of it is relinquishing control. You know, and it's like here I am coming from Clip Studio Paint where I have like 90 layers. Why? So I can like change everything. Like I did some of the RoboForce pages that I did a few years back. I had all of the figures inked and colored in their own layer grouping, so I could move the character, and the background was completely rendered behind them. So like if I needed to move like anything like a couple millimeters left or right to make room for this or that or to tweak the composition, I had that ability. I never used it. I never I never availed myself of that. So it's like finally I asked myself, like, is it that important to have that much control, Jerzy? Maybe. You'll start to have more fun doing this if you let go of that control just a tiny bit. See what happens. And that is definitely part of the fun of this, is sort of guessing my way through it. Okay. Time to get a little bit more shading done in here. So now I'm going to dig into that brown and purple again for the bag, now that that's dried up a little bit. I can put it right there. What do you think? That's not bad. Oh, that was a goof. I'm gonna have to fix that. I worked in too much water, and you can see how it messed with the shadow there, right? I feel like in my early development as an artist, I spent a lot of time sort of justifying not taking risks. I remember I talked myself out of learning how to ink very early on, because I'm like, well, I'm a penciler. I'm a penciler. That's what I do. I don't need to learn how to use ink pens. Until like I found out that I had a project with a deadline and I couldn't find a collaborator to work on the inks. I'm like, I guess I'm learning inks now, and I survived. Okay, let's do our blues and indigos and a little touch of purple. Oh, that was green. That's indigo. Whoops. Where is it? It's fine. It's fine. These are accidents. Like Bob Ross would have said, you know, happy accident and whatnot. A little bit more water in there. Wet this down real quick. Yeah, see, I keep removing paint there. I got to let that dry a little bit more before I monkey with it. All right, let's do the Baron's staff. Don't forget to beat the devil on the brush. Yeah, we're really conjuring him now, aren't we? Oh, if only I had that kind of calming, relaxing presence, that contemplative. I am much too goofy and much too boyish. I'm not saying that as a slight against myself. I know that that can be part of my charm. Are we almost there? I think we might be. How am I doing on time? Oh, man. I am doing okay on time. I feel happy about this. Do we have enough water in this brush left to do the sky? Let's do the sky real quick. Are you wet at all? Yeah, you are. I'm going to have to refill these brushes after today. So as we get close to the end of the stream, I want to remind everybody that this is twice weekly, Mondays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Oh, what paint set is this? Gosh, I don't remember what kind of paints these are now. I want to say they're just like Winsor and Newton paints that I got a bigger set of, like the little tubes, right, that you squeeze in here. And this is just a little travel paint kit. I want to say it was like $15 for this thing. It's not a fancy one, but it's just a 12-pan travel paint kit. And then it's just like Winsor Newton watercolors that, you squirt into each pan. There is a kidlit artist named Debbie Ohi, Ohi, and she actually makes Altoids watercolor kits, like out of an Altoids pan, tin, and she just puts, I think, like 6 or something pans in there to make a travel kit, watercolor kit. And I thought that was like super cute. I can tell you what colors are in here because my wife Anne is wonderful and wrote this out for me. I have indigo, phthalo green, cadmium yellow pale, cadmium orange, Alzarian crimson. You can you can pause the screen on that. But yeah, there's like a really fancy version of this 12-pan travel kit that like I don't know, you can pay as much as $40 for. But if you I just went to like Blick and looked for inexpensive ones. It's like a no brand. What was I doing? Where was I? I was going to do a little bit more of the mountains, then I was going to call it quits. So even though, and see, this is my, I'll be the first to admit this is one of my hang-ups, is that I've always been really proud of the fact that comics as a medium doesn't really ask you for, well, I mean, it does, but like it's a story I told myself is that you don't have to get a lot of fancy, expensive tools to make comics, right? And the truth is, right, it's not a computer to draw on and color in, all that stuff, all those things add up. It is very expensive. But again, this is a story I told myself. So like I have a sort of bias when I'm thinking about art supplies is like I like to use cheap art supplies. I don't like to use like really expensive fancy stuff. And that is not a philosophical position that I would profess as like, oh, this is the right way to do it. It's more of like, this is my particular weirdness about making art. And so like these were just like, you know, I got them at Michael's, these brush pens. I have it on good authority that a good, what are those called? A sable brush is superior to the brush pens I use. I believe it. Couple problems. One, a sable brush comes from animals. I try to avoid using products that in any way come from an animal. And the second thing is that they're pricey. I want to use my cheap stuff. This might be done. Like I said, I don't want to overwork it. Oh, let me do the glows around the various wisps. And then I think this one will be finished. Here, next, violet. Oh, I'm looking for blue. Where are you? Once again, I'm going to be streaming this on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you had a good time today, I will ask that you please hit like on the video. My understanding of the algorithm is that's like something that it looks for to say like, okay, this is something I want to push up the rankings. And I'm not going to lie to you. I do want to build an audience for this because I want both not only to celebrate comics, but I've got projects coming out in the next couple of years, and I really want to be able to put them in front of people. So that's what you'd be doing to help me. I hope it's mutually beneficial. Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna live dangerously as I finish this up. I'm gonna try to put a little bit of black gouache in here. Will I sink or will I swim? Come on, black gouache, work with me here. want that little blurb to go away. I hate that so much. What's right there? Let me zoom in on it. And we can get one last look as I wrap this up. Thanks to everybody who hung out with me today. It is always nice to be able to like talk art with friends while I'm working. Go back to the old bullpen days. I remember when I used to live with roommates who were also making art. It was fun just to sit and draw together. Yeah, I'm married to an artist, but we don't get as much time to sit and draw together as I would like. Our schedules are too different sometimes. Oh, Mad Cat Art, thank you so much. I'm glad. I don't, I know you're giving me your non-renewable resource, your time, and I want to be respectful of that whenever I'm doing these things. So I try to share things that might be of utility or interest to fellow artists. Well, I think... Well, that's the hope, Sean, is that like this feels like hanging out and making art with, all chitter-chattering between each other. Although, I mean, obviously I can't hear you. You have to actually type your responses. But there it is. There's our drawing for this live stream, and I'll post it on my Instagram. All of the links to my stuff are right above me right now. So you can follow me at those places if you so choose. Thanks once again to everybody for hanging out. And I will see you hopefully Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So until then, I have been Jerzy Drozd, jdrozd.com, Jerzy Drozd on Instagram. Okay, bye.